Happy belated New Year, everybody. Hope that your 2020 is going well so far. This is Kevin, and I'm back. It's been a good long while, and this year I'm going to start making videos again. I've got a journal that's got a bunch of different series planned, and I'm going to just kind of try them all and see what sticks. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to do kind of a real-time drawing and talk, just kind of off the cuff, and I might do these every now and again. We'll see how it goes, but the idea is to just draw in real time, do the voiceover in real time, and I'm sure since it's been a while since I made any videos that there's going to be some readjusting, learning how to talk on camera again, learning how to draw with a tripod between my legs, and I'm sitting kind of sideways to do this. But the idea here is, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna put a timer on for an hour. It doesn't mean the videos are going to be an hour long, but I'm gonna draw for an hour, see what I come up with, and just kind of yap, and maybe you guys can grab your sketchbooks, turn on the computer, work on your art projects, or just hang out, listen, and watch as I draw and stammer as I'm getting used to making videos again. So I'm not sure what I'm going to call this. Draw with me, sketch with me, hang out with me. I don't know. I guess we'll see in the thumbnail. So what I'm drawing here in my sketchbook this is Frank. He is my great-grandfather, and I don't know a whole lot about him. This photo was taken in 1913. I don't recall my grandmother talking about him too much, but from what I understand, he was a pretty good dude. But this picture did always fascinate me as a kid, because there's just something like kind of sinister about him. Just the look in his eyes, the way he's smiling right there. There's the mystery of he's only got one arm. I'm not sure if he was born like that or if there's a bigger story there. Even though I heard he's kind of a good dude, it just always kind of creeped me out a little bit as a kid. I was just super fascinated by it. So, as I was going through the old photos, I found it, and I was like, I just got to draw this dude. Probably not going to look exactly like him. I'm not going for realism here. It's just doing sketchbook stuff. And just kind of trying to rough in the shapes here. I just feel just kind of not just doing the videos, but just kind of even rough with drawing. Kind of why I disappeared. I guess, disappear is a good word. I saw in a comment one time, someone just wrote dead channel. And, I guess kind of, But I'm going to revitalizing it here for 2020. I did mention that I've got a bunch of different series planned to do, and my goal for this year is to do 50 videos, and that may be 50 videos on YouTube. It might also include Patreon videos, exclusive Patreon videos. I'm not sure yet. We'll see where it goes, but definitely 50 videos nonetheless. And I'm kind of I'm changing things a little bit. Like, I'm not looking at reference, but I can see how his arm is folded, or his sleeve, I should say, without the arm, is folded into a pocket here. But, I've seen the people who have one arm with the suit or long sleeve, and they kind of fold it and pin it. So I'm kind of going for that look here. He's got his hand, I don't know if that's shown up on video too well, but he's got his hand on a bowler cap. Looks like there's like a newspaper or something. Looks a little rigid for newspaper, so I'm not sure what it is. In his lap. Looks like a bunch of papers nonetheless. Maybe in a folder or something. Some book here with his bowler hat. So I'm going to kind of go off of the feeling I kind of had from being younger. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of make him a little bit sinister. So maybe I'll keep the papers here in his lap. And I want him to wear the bowler cap. Something about that look from that time period. Maybe I'll put his hand on a skull. Resting on a skull or something. Something weird. Shrunken head maybe. Because it's looking a little small for this space. Yeah, we'll do something like that. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of burnt out. It's something I'm kind of bored of talking about a little bit, but it's kind of part of why I burn out, really. I guess it's about 4 years now. I got separated and then went through a pretty lengthy divorce. And, it was a huge life change, needless to say. And I kind of went on a bit of a journey, for lack of a better term. And I was just fighting really hard, I felt like. And I had to leave the state for a while, or else be homeless. And yeah, so I came back to where I am now. The divorce took a long time, and it kind of took a lot emotionally out of me, but I kept fighting through that. But a lot of things were getting neglected through the process. And so my YouTube channel went from, I was posting a lot, I got less and less and less. And then pretty soon it was just, things kind of came to a head, and I just needed a break from everything. My career in illustration completely changed. I don't know, it partially because while I was figuring out life, I didn't really wasn't really able to take on clients. So I find myself also at a point where I sort of feel like I'm starting over with art. And I was doing a lot more design work than illustration. And that led me to taking on a lot of jobs in 2019 that were not very satisfying. And I started questioning whether I even wanted to be an artist and even go back to YouTube at all. I was starting to feel like the reward wasn't quite equal to the work I had been putting in. And, like I said, I was just emotionally beat. So I just kind of took a break in 2019. I put out like 2 videos. It's not very good output, but yeah, just needed to step away and see if any of this stuff is what I really wanted to do, I mean, I had some art jobs. One really cool art job I had was, I'm going to completely change his jawline a bit here. Yeah, so I did take some, I'd say, creative jobs in 2019, but there wasn't a whole lot. Coolest one was probably not a visual art job, but I got to score some scenes for a TV show. That was pretty awesome. but mostly just design work. I think I only had one illustration job all of 2019, but you know, at the same time, it was like I didn't really care. So I took on a lot of jobs, like kind of odd jobs. Some of them I'm still doing. A couple part-time delivery jobs. Helping a friend out with a house cleaning business. Doing some of that stuff. Just needed to do something different and kind of calm down after kind of a few years of emotional torment. To just kind of get over all that. And yeah, so I find myself here now, and it's like, yeah, I do miss this stuff. I do miss doing YouTube videos. I do miss doing art, and so I've got to reinvigorate that stuff. I think part of what the problem was with me is some of my early videos I had mentioned that success for me wasn't about money. Yes, we need to make money. Don't get me wrong. I know that I'm not trying to be, I don't know, flippant or pie in the sky. Because, you know, that was a big thing too. That divorce just, man, it decimated me. I'm still paying for it financially, for sure. But yeah, success wasn't the reason why I did YouTube. It wasn't, or I mean, sorry, riches weren't the reason I was wanting to do YouTube in the first place. So I mean, I'm sure if you watch YouTube, you hear plenty that it's it's not really the path to wealth for many people. And it certainly hasn't been for me. So I define success as basically being fulfilled and happy and having just enough to have some freedom to kind of really do what you want. But then going through this divorce and becoming a single parent and not having help with bills or anything like that, and having to pay for somebody else on top of my things, money became really important. And so the pursuit of money became a big deal. I think that contributed to my burnout, because the more I was pursuing money to pay lawyers and, you know, find a place to live, and I guess I had, you know, during the separation had gone out of state and was spending a lot of money on plane tickets so I could see my daughter. I became very unhappy. Just, I don't know, just the sole pursuit of money. It's just not. It's not for me. It seems like, and this might be a little cliche, because you're like self-help people and stuff say this, but it seems like whenever I pursue money, that's when it doesn't come. And it's when I try to do things that are a bit more fulfilling and try to contribute something, you know, hoping my videos contribute. If they're not any help, at least maybe sometimes they're entertaining or cathartic. Maybe, I don't know. I just that's when things seem to be okay, and I feel you know, just happier, more fulfilled. So I'm reminding myself of that now, and how things have been the last couple of years as I've slowly just kind of stepped away from everything. But like I said, it was needed because I needed to do other things in order to show me that I was happy doing what I was before, I guess. And it was just, this looks like his head is really big, but whatever. It's cartoony, it's sketchbook, doesn't matter. When I mentioned that I was starting to feel like, and this is a phrase I've heard before, this is nothing I'm clever enough to make up myself, but that the reward wasn't equal to the work I put in. And that was during that whole period of needing money really bad. So I just kind of started resenting everything. Yeah, I just got really resentful towards art and making comics and these videos, just thinking like, oh, no one cared, and a lot of woe was me, which probably stemmed from the divorce too. But before all that stuff happened, it was rewarding. It was a joy to do all this stuff. And it was just because I loved it. And I forgot that I loved the stuff. And so that in and of itself, well, he's got a meaty hand there. Oh, that's weird looking. That's another thing about these videos, it's like, I keep on breaking leads. A lot of times when people post stuff, you just see what works and what comes out perfect. And, these off-the-cuff drawing videos, things aren't always going to be perfect. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Rewards not equal to the work put in. Stuff I enjoy, that can be the reward in and of itself. I mean, I can still drive a delivery truck. Oh, I am feeling so rusty. It's still nice to push around a pencil and make some marks, Oh, and a couple other factors that contributed to the burnout. I've been working on this comic, The Monkey Mon Friends Show, for far too long. It should be out. There should be multiple issues out by now. And in the last year or two, I watched a couple movies in this franchise. Oh man, I'm just breaking pencil lids all over the place. Gotta steady myself. Jeez. Anyway, I had started working on this comic, or at least the first draft of this comic. And there is a second issue that's pretty much written for it, and an outline for the next two comics after that. And I think it's just like one of those zeitgeist moment kind of things. So much of the premise of this franchise and characters and like there's a spy organization, and it's too close. It just kind of stopped me in my tracks a little bit. It's the Kingsman. There's just so many similarities. I don't know. I'm so bummed. I like the movies, so I think it's just a zeitgeist thing. And I know I should probably just go ahead because my take on the genre, the spy genre, is going to be different, and I shouldn't let it bother me. And I should go ahead. But it's so close. So I've been working on the comic, doing like some rewrites to not necessarily change my story, but change it enough to where it's not going to be something that feels like I've swiped the storyline of at least like the Kingsman, the premise, some of these movies. But so started kind of rewriting that, and then I was going to combine, just because comics take so long to make. I thought, well, if I have any other ideas for stories, which I do, I'm just going to figure out how to put them in Monkeymon, the Monkeymon and Friends show. And there's been this one story that has been kicking around in my head for, well, it might be also something to help me cope with, or that I came up with to cope with going through the divorce and everything. And I was going to incorporate that into Monkeymon to change my story a bit. And for a while that idea worked for me, but just this past year, the original idea that I had for the story, just kind of coping with loss and divorce and that kind of stuff, it's not really working for me anymore. So I just kind of had to kind of put down Monkeymon a little bit to write kind of the original idea of the story that had nothing to do with Monkeymon. Because Monkeymon, the original idea was to have it be kind of a fun spy, kind of spoofy kind of thing with animals and stuff, and just, I don't know, kind of a little bit based on some Hanna-Barbera kind of storytelling and goofiness when I was a kid, the old cartoons. If anybody watches YouTube is old enough to know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I just had to write a story without it being Monkeymon, my original idea of going through that stuff. And the more I was writing, the more I wanted to tell that story separate from Monkeymon and not try to shoehorn it in, I guess. So once I did that, the whole idea and, I guess, notion of getting back into making comics was exciting again. And so what that's done also is reinvigorated me to work on Monkeymon as well. So anyway, I've got some ideas for this other comic, and how I can work on that and get Monkeymon out as soon as possible too. I kind of recently heard something about this on actually Wheezy Waiter, which is a pretty popular YouTube channel. Dude's pretty funny, and he had talked about Burnout pretty recently about this, and he mentioned something like not putting meaning or so much meaning into something, not putting so much meaning into something that's just kind of finite, you know, like things change. And with me just kind of sticking to, I don't know, one modus operandi or script, it's like, it's fine to change things up. It's okay. So it did help to just do something else for a while. Oh, and that brings up YouTube again. Aside from the factors that I've already mentioned, my burnout with YouTube is when I first started YouTube and started getting subscribers, it was kind of all based on the 100 Days of Making Comics, which, for people who don't know, is just a thing I accidentally started, and a bunch of people joined in, And it was, I wanted to be working on comics more than I wanted to work on client work. And I didn't have, or I didn't feel like I had the time, I should say. So I just said for 100 days in a row for at very least 30 minutes, which turns out I don't think that's enough time, but maybe an hour. But regardless, the idea was you work on something that you enjoy, your own personal project, for at least some amount of the day, because that's better than nothing, and it gets your project going. So so I started my YouTube channel, kind of with that as the basis for it. But I don't think I ever really found my voice with YouTube, or I wasn't comfortable with it, I should say. And so I kind of had analysis paralysis, for lack of a better term, with YouTube also. I miss making videos. I don't know, I was starting to get to a point in a way where I felt like I didn't really have a set direction, and I wanted to. Last year I did a couple videos about exploring and getting more into like some digital painting, which also, by the way, like helped me with burnout, just to do some mess around with some digital painting, just to change things up. And when I was taking a break, it's kind of like I gave my brain a rest or something, and find myself flooded with a bunch of ideas. And so, like I said, I'm going to do at least 50 videos this year, hopefully more. I have a notebook that is full of ideas and directions. That's why I had mentioned earlier I'm going to try a bunch of different, not a bunch, I'm going to try just a little over a handful of different series. And I think by comments and likes and stuff like that, I'll be able to judge what people are really digging, and I'll figure out what I'm really digging too along the way. But yeah, the ideas that I have with the different series, and just some that are just general art videos that might not fit into a series. There's way more than 50 there. I was able to just sit down a few weeks ago, and I don't know, they just started pouring out, and it gave me a direction for this channel. So it's it's still gonna be an art channel, of course. I don't know, there's some stuff that I've just kind of wanted to do that I used to think maybe didn't fit in this channel, but with kind of a reboot here, that's fine. I'm sure I'll lose some people and gain other people. So, getting over the burnout. Biggest thing, I guess, I don't know. It sounds so pat, but is just pivoting and remembering why I started doing this stuff in the first place. What I think I'm going to do is just do a little time lapse here. Well, here I am. I was racing against the timer towards the end there, and my hour is done. So I'm just going to put in this quick kind of little design element, little box here. I do this a lot in my sketchbook, just to kind of tie the page together a little bit. I mean, I know it's just for me, and I know it's just a sketchbook, so it's just, you know, sketchy, sketchy stuff. But I do like to have some kind of, I don't know, something that just kind of makes things look complete, even if I don't feel like the drawings were complete exactly. Plus, in the case of this drawing, since I was racing against the timer to finish, it totally felt like, actually, just to kind of interrupt myself, it totally felt like when I was in art school and we had these studio classes where we had to, draw a live model or something, and class was about to end, and you weren't where you wanted to be at that time with your drawing, and just really rushing to fill in as much of the figure or props or whatever, at least to get the impression of everything that was there in front of you with the person and whatever else might be there. So yeah, it reminded me a lot of that with the rushing towards the end. I think the drawing is probably a decent enough sketch, just like quick study, I guess you could say, from about here to probably about there. And so this also draws the eye here. And if I'm going to get real artsy-fartsy about this, when people are looking at a piece of, or just looking at things in nature, I guess, naturally, I should say, your eye is going to focus more on what you're totally looking at, and then everything else kind of around it gets less detail as you kind of go around the focal area. So in that case, down here it totally works, where it just becomes kind of scribbles. I don't necessarily think this is very effective, but it's something to keep in mind that I like to do in pieces where there is a bit more detail in certain areas, and like a background or other parts that aren't as important will kind of lose a little bit of the detail. And it's just a way of kind of mimicking the natural world, I suppose. And it looks cool when it's done effectively. So anyway, I guess I'm going to wrap this up here, but let me know what you think about this little experiment here with doing longer videos where I just kind of talk about whatever comes to mind as I'm drawing. And yeah, it's just one of the experimental series I'm going to be doing as I do, I guess, kind of a soft reboot, getting back into YouTube. And here we are with a full shot of this sketch influenced by the portrait of my great-grandfather Frank. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.